Today on the AM show, we have Linda Hollander from thewealthybaglady.com. She talks sponsorships and how to find your next big corporate sponsor. This is the AM show with Arts Music Lawyer, where ambition and motivation meet persistence and drive, where your wildest dreams come true and even the greatest possibilities become realities. Listen to people just like you who stay authentic to who they are and master the art of their craft. Are you sharing the art of you? The art of you is music to my ears. Stay focused, stay on track. Create a new lifestyle with ambition and motivation. The AM Show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the AM Show, where I bring you ambitious and motivated entrepreneurs who are going to inspire you based on their story. Today, we have Linda Hollander from thewealthybaglady.com, and she's going to tell you everything there is to know about how she went from, I'll let her take over from here.
From bags to riches. So do you want to hear a little bit about my story, how I got started with entrepreneurship?
Of course I do.
Okay, so I got started with entrepreneurship because, like a lot of people out there, I was working for a bunch of jerks, and I said, if these idiots can run a business, then I definitely can run a business, and I'm sure even better than them. And, you know, that's how a lot of people get started with entrepreneurship. I kind of had a Jerry Maguire moment because I was in a dead-end job. I had the heart, I had the soul, I had the fire of an entrepreneur, but my soul was absolutely being crushed in that particular work situation because I had an abrasive relationship with my boss. I live in Los Angeles. I had to fight horrendous traffic to get to my office, which was downtown. When I got there, I had to work with people I didn't even like. And, you know, some days at lunch hour, I would just go down to my car and I would cry.
Oh, wow.
And even though I was working, you know, I was basically in a really bad situation because I wasn't even making enough money at my job to pay my bills. So I borrowed on credit cards, and we all know not to do that now, but I got in a lot of trouble because every day when I would go from my little rent-controlled apartment down to the mailbox, like my hand, it would literally shake when I would open the mailbox because there were bills in that mailbox that I could never, ever afford to pay on what I was making. And in my personal life, I was with an abusive man at the time, and I stayed in that relationship for a few years because basically I had absolutely no self-confidence. You know, that was really what determined how I lived my life. So I said, well, this relationship isn't good, but it's probably the best that I could do at the time. But one day, I had an epiphany, and I said, I don't want to be a victim anymore. I want my life to make a difference. So I fired my boss. I dumped this abusive boyfriend. And 3.5 weeks later, I met my husband, and my husband is the kindest, the most gentle person in the world. When we met, he had a 20-year-old cat. So I said, well, anybody who's raised a cat to 20 years of age, I could at least go out to dinner with. And we've been married over 20 years. And of course, we have a beautiful cat named Romana. And then that's another thing is when before I got into business, I was living in a little rent-controlled apartment because that's all I could afford. And the landlord didn't like cats. And I had to hide that cat. And hope that landlord never found out because I couldn't afford to live anywhere else and I would be on the streets basically. So being an entrepreneur, it made all the really good things in my life possible. I was able to pay down that debt that was absolutely choking me. I was able to move out of the little rent-controlled apartment, buy my first home as a single woman. I was able to travel the world. I've been to over 25 countries. And then I loved coaching and mentoring other businesses. So that's really what entrepreneurship has done for me.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, if that story by itself without the details doesn't inspire entrepreneurs, I mean, I just can't wait until they get into the details. Tell us how somebody who, you know, who is maybe in a bad situation, whether it be a bad relationship, a bad job, depressed about where they stand in life, how do they take that first initial step? Because it's very hard to get out of your own brain sometimes, but you did it.
It all starts with a thought. And we all know about the law of attraction. So it all starts with that thought. And remember, I told you I had an epiphany, and I kind of had to hit bottom as far as my living situation, as far as my personal relationships, you know, on the highway of men, getting off at the jerk exit, and in my job. For me, the breaking point was when my boss said, hey, I'm going to move into your office. And I knew that I just could not take being in that kind of a fishbowl. And I said, okay, you're moving in, I'm out of here. And I left the job with nothing else to go to. I dumped the boyfriend with nothing else, no other relationships waiting for me. So it all starts with a thought. It all starts with that burning desire to be an entrepreneur, to be the master of your own destiny, to be the architect of your own life. And for me, it was about helping other people. That's really what drove me, was my mission. One thing you can do is write a mission statement. And my mission, you want to hear my mission statement?
Yes.
Okay. So my mission is to live well, to have fun, and to help other people achieve their greatness. And that's really what guides me and what makes me get up in the morning every day. So let's break it down a little bit. I want to live well. I want to, you know, live in a nice home. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to really make good decisions in my life. I want to have fun. And you know, when you first start a business, you have to take any client, even the obnoxious ones. And we did that in my business. But then after a while, I said, you know what? I only want to work with people I like. I only want to work with people that I respect. So now that's all I work with. If I don't like somebody, they do not become a client of mine, because life is much too short. So that's having fun, because I want to be with people who want to have fun with me, and then helping other people achieve their greatness. So after a while, I wanted to do an event, and I wanted to do a women's small business expo. And that's how you heard of me, because I said, well, at that point, I wasn't in the business anymore with my best friend. I was on my own in my kitchen, and I said, I want to start a women's small business expo. And then I said, well, I can't, how am I going to afford this? Now, that's when most people stop. They think of a great idea, but then they think, well, I can't afford this, so I can't do it. If you can't afford it, if you don't have the money, somebody else does. Because I looked around and I saw there's these things called sponsors, and sponsors will underwrite your event. Or if you want to be a speaker, you want to be an author, you want to start a nonprofit charity, you want to be a social influencer, sponsors will pay you for that. So my very first Women's Small Business Expo, my sponsors were Bank of America, Walmart, and IBM. And then after that, I got Microsoft, FedEx, Staples, American Airlines, HealthNet Insurance, Marriott Hotels, and Southwest Airlines as sponsors. So remember, if you want to start a business, don't look at your checkbook. If that's all that's holding you back, then forget about it, because if you don't have the money, somebody else does.
You know, that's amazing, because you touched on a very, very, very important point. The point at which people stop and they say, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't have the funds. So that begs the question, what is the formula for getting these big sponsors to say yes to the dream, to the big dream event?
You sell them on the concept. And that's what I did when I was first getting started, because I wanted to do an event. But the problem was I'd never done an event in my life. I didn't have any fan base, and I didn't have any experience. And I was working in the kitchen with the cat as my one employee. So I sold them on the concept. So I'll give you the example that I use. Since I was doing a women's small business expo, I went on the internet and I researched the women's business market, and I found out that women make or influence over 85% of the purchasing decisions in America. Women in America spend more than 5 countries combined. Women are starting businesses at twice the rate of men. So that's what I presented to my sponsors, and they said yes to that. And incidentally, I want to let the men who are listening to this, I want to let them know that I use women as an example because that is part of my experience. But the strategies for getting sponsors work for anybody. They're universal.
That's great. So let's say whether it's a man or a female who wants to put on one of these types of events for their niche market, you know, who do you begin to reach out to? Because surely, you know, the head honcho might not want to address your email if they don't know who you are.
Well, let me tell you how I got my first sponsor, because I think everybody can relate to this. So when I got my first sponsor, the Women's Small Business Expo was just an idea in my head. I didn't even know if it had legs. I didn't know if it would be successful. I didn't know if I'd give a great party and nobody would show up. But I knew I had a really, really good idea. So I was driving, and I live in Los Angeles. So I was stuck in a traffic jam. And I was just cursing out that traffic jam. But then I look up and I see a billboard for Bank of America. And I look at that billboard, and there's a woman on the billboard, first of all, and I was doing a Women's Small Business Expo. So here's how you can find your sponsors. See what companies are sponsoring your demographic. In sponsorship, your demographic is your destiny. So I look up at Bank of America, there's a woman on the billboard, and then I go back to my little home office and I say, you know what, they're never gonna talk to me. I totally self-sabotaged, and I said to myself, you know, exactly what you're saying. I said, nobody is gonna wanna talk to me. I'm this short little frizzy-haired girl, you know, who works from home, and you know, they're gonna hang up on me. I'm gonna make a fool out of myself, and they're gonna reject me, and who needs that? So I pushed down the idea for about a week, but then I couldn't let it go because my mission, remember, to help people was so strong that I built up the courage to pick up the phone, and the phone looked like it weighed about 250 pounds, but I did pick it up. And here's what you do. I called and got the marketing department. So write that down. Marketing department. That's who you call in the company that can greenlight a sponsorship. So, you know, they passed me from one person to another, and pretty soon I got the person who can greenlight a sponsorship, and Bank of America became my very first sponsor.
Amazing. That is amazing. And you simply reached out to someone at your local Bank of America?
That's a good question, because I get that question a lot. Should I reach out locally or should I reach out to the corporate office? So what I did with Bank of America was I did reach out locally, because with banks, you want to reach out locally. With FedEx, when I got FedEx as a sponsor, I went through their corporate office, which is in Tennessee. So the answer is do both. Reach out at the local level to your sponsors and reach out to the corporate level.
Nice. So what do you think is in it for these sponsors? Why do they want to say yes to people like you?
The definition of sponsorship is connecting a company to people who buy things. So if you know people who buy things, you could get sponsors. So remember, I demonstrated how I could connect them to this amazing demographic, the biggest spending block on the planet, which is women. And I demonstrated how I could connect them to that particular audience of consumers and buyers. And because I did that, and I had some really compelling statistics, they said yes. So really, that's what's in it for your sponsors. If we kind of take this a little bit retro, remember when you bought an ad in the newspaper, you want to know, hey, who's going to read my ad in this newspaper? And are the right people going to read my ad in the newspaper? And that's why you buy it. And that's what sponsorship is about. So if you could think of the time when you recommended a product or a service to somebody, a business colleague, a family member, and they use that product or service, that's really what sponsorship is about.
I see. So what do you think is the next step? You know, like, what is your next step, and what should the next step be after putting on, you know, this event for your niche?
The next step for what?
What is the next step in terms of maybe helping the sponsor connect with the audience? Or what is the next step for you and your mission statement in putting on these events? So you put on the event, you have attendees who love all the content, and then what? And then what happens? What's the take-home message for the people who attend?
Okay, well, I'll talk about the take-home message for the people who attend, but I think what we also want to talk about is how to keep your sponsors. Okay, so let's talk about the people who attend, and I want to talk about the Sponsor Secret Seminar, because that's the event that I do now. So we'll talk about that before we close out of this. But at the Women's Small Business Expo, oh my God, on my deathbed, I will be so proud of the work that I did at the Women's Small Business Expo, because women would come and they would meet their business partners there. They would learn the secrets to creating their own multi-million-dollar business, because I created a multi-million-dollar business. If I could do it, anybody could do it. They were able to move to better homes, to send their kids to better schools, to really change the trajectory of the success in their lives. And it was all because of sponsors. So that's what they get out of the event. Now, what do sponsors get out of the event, and how can we keep our sponsors? So sponsors got all these direct connections with the women business owners. So let's take IBM, who became a sponsor of mine. What IBM did was they had me send an email about a laptop that they had a special on, and some of the women bought the laptop. So that's one of the ways that sponsorship works. The way you keep your sponsors is relationships. Sponsorship is a relationship business. So you want to talk to your sponsors at least once per quarter. You want to send them a renewal report about everything that you did for that particular sponsor. You want to go over it with them, and then you want to call them and email them from time to time. Keep in touch with them. We recommend a yearly sponsorship deal, even if you're doing events. Don't get sponsorship event by event, because that's the mistake I made when I first started. Get sponsorship for an entire year and bundle everything that you do. So if you want to do a live event, if you want to do virtual events, if you want to do social media, that's all part of the sponsorship program. And then you could get what's called a renewal. Now, a renewal is really cool because that's your cash machine in sponsorship. So if a sponsor likes you, they will give you money this year, the next year, and then the next year. And I had multi-year contracts with Citibank and FedEx, and my clients that have multi-year contracts with Verizon, Black & Decker, Dole Foods, just to name a few.
Wow. Wow. I think what's most important in what you just said is the mistake that other people should avoid. Because we all know that when we learn from mistakes, whether it's our own or other people's, we won't make that mistake again.
There's a lot of mistakes to avoid. One of the mistakes to avoid is rambling. When you talk to a sponsor, really get to the point. Another mistake is not to have the right proposal, because you need an industry standard sponsor proposal in order to get sponsors, because you're asking for money that you don't have to pay back. But in order to get that money, you need to provide your sponsors with a proposal. So if you don't take the time to craft that proposal, you will not get funded. So those are two big mistakes.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those. Thank you. So what is next on your agenda? Are you going to keep, putting on events? Are you going to continue with your Small Business Expo? What is the next step for you?
I did the Women's Small Business Expo for 10 years. Absolutely loved it. But then women and men too, because men could come to Women's Small Business Expo. They would come and then they'd say, how the heck are you getting these sponsors? I thought you had to be a big business. And I said, absolutely not. Remember, you sell them on the concept. So what I do for the last 7 years is the Sponsor Secret Seminar. The Sponsor Secret Seminar takes place every October, the first week of October. So this year, it's October 2nd through October 4th of 2018 in Los Angeles, California. So at the Sponsor Secret Seminar, it's a 3-day intensive where we package you for success with your sponsors. You leave with a complete action plan. And here's the cool thing about it. You get to meet the sponsors. We bring you sponsors you can't even get on the phone, but I've cultivated relationships with them over 18 years, and they talk to you one-on-one. And we've had amazing deals done at Sponsor Secret Seminar. So if you want information about Sponsor Secret Seminar and about anything else, can I give a free gift to people who are listening?
Yes, of course. Tell them where they can find you too, and where they can find out more about the seminar.
Okay, so go to my website, which is sponsorconcierge.com. Sponsorconcierge.com. In the top right corner, you'll get the #1 secret for getting your sponsors, and that's my free gift. If they want to find out about Sponsor Secret Seminar, just go to sponsorsecretseminar.com.
Perfect. And we'll put that up on the screen for anybody who didn't catch it. That way they can, you know, watch this again and they'll know exactly where to go.
Great.
Do you have any last words that you want to share to inspire people about taking action with their sponsorships?
I sure do. You know, hold your head up high. Know that even if you're just getting started, that you have quality and you have value to deliver to people. You know, whether it's in your business, because when I started my business, it was very intimidating because I had to call on really, really big companies. And here we were, you know, this little shoestring company, and, you know, we got the big contracts. In sponsorships, I told you the Bank of America story. I did the same thing, and I'll even go a little bit more into that story. When I met to meet with the guy from Bank of America who could greenlight this sponsorship, remember, the marketing department, you know, I had a clunker car. I had this really old car. The paint was peeling, the upholstery was shot, and when I went there to meet with Bank of America, I had to park like 2 blocks down because I didn't want anybody to see that car. It was so embarrassing. I wore my one good suit. We all have that one good suit. I wore that, and then I was so nervous. I mean, thank God there was like a desk between us because my knees were knocking during the meeting. And then the guy said, sure, we'll go with the sponsorship. And I had to act like I did this all the time, you know, and I said, okay, great. And then he wants to shake my hand when I leave. And I had to secretly wipe my hand on the back of my one good suit, wipe the sweat off. And you know what? When I got in my car, though, I did the happy dance and I waved to all the Bank of Americas going home. So, you know, like it is a little intimidating when you're getting started and you're working with, in your business, you're working with companies that are bigger than you. In sponsorships, you're working with sponsors that are bigger than you. But don't be intimidated by that. Go for the top. Go for it because you have quality, you have value to offer your sponsors. And you know what? Maybe you have a supportive, you know, support system around you. I didn't. I told my father I wanted to start a business, and what I didn't tell you is I had 2 failed businesses and art school training, and he said, you're crazy. You know, I had a huge fight with my father because he said I was living in a dream world and I wasn't qualified to do anything, and it was so hurtful to me. But my father did come around, and today he said, I am so proud of you. We are so close. It is absolutely embarrassing. And, you know, just remember that other people have agendas. My father was being protective. He didn't want to see me get hurt. He didn't want to see me fail. And just remember also that nobody has your vision. So if you do not have a support system, find one, get one. You know, listen to podcasts and shows like this. Find a group of people who will hold your vision in light, because that is what I did, and that is absolutely necessary. So once again, get the #1 secret for getting sponsors at my website, sponsorconcierge.com. And then on that website, if you want to book a strategy session with me to see if you can be successful with your sponsors, there's a way to do that on the site.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for sharing those words. Not only is your father proud of you, but we are also proud of you as entrepreneurs too. And as female entrepreneurs, we're extremely proud too that you have accomplished so much. And we thank you so much. And to close out this podcast, I want to know, as arts music lawyer, what song has inspired you or really, really lifts you up in those moments where you need a boost?
No question. Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. And that is my power song. That is what I played on that first meeting to Bank of America. That is what I play in my car when I need a boost of confidence. It's Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. And I just found out that that amazing artist, Aretha Franklin, also did a beautiful cover of that song. So I love girl power songs.
Okay, can we close out with you singing a small tune?
Of I Will Survive. I can't sing. Well, if you sing it, I'll sing along with you. How's that?
Okay, you go first.
Oh no, not I will survive. For as long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I got all my life to live. I got all my love to give. I will survive. I will survive. Hey, hey.
Woo! That was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything you said. We're going to put all your information up on the screen, and thank you so much for sharing all your information with us today.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.